Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming to visit with us today. I think it's a very important occasion for the Rural America Solutions Group to be together as our colleagues on the Energy and Commerce Committee continue to work through the process of marking up the so-called cap and trade bill. Approximately a quarter of the American public really has a clue what cap and trade is. It might more accurately be described as cap and tax, or an energy tax, or a carbon tax, or for some of you who remember the 1990s, a BTU tax part 2. You'll say, why does it matter so much to rural America, the bill that's being marked up in Energy and Commerce? Well, I would remind you that in rural America we are both tremendous consumers of energy, the energy that's required to prepare the soil, the diesel and the gasoline in the tractors, the energy that's required to create our fertilizers, our petrochemicals, our seeds, the energy that's required to harvest those crops and process those crops and deliver them to the consumer, and ultimately to put them in the grocery store case to not only be lovely to look at, but also safe and of the highest quality for American consumers. We are massive consumers of energy, and rural America is producers of energy also. That's why this 1,000-page bill that literally mentions agriculture 6 times, half of that in reference to an EPA study 4 years ago, the other half in regards to a land buying program, is so important. We are at the center of the consumption of energy, the production of energy, as we meet the food and fiber needs of this great nation. And we want to make sure in this rural group that those needs are met in rural America, that we don't just ultimately wind up capping farm incomes, the incomes of people who live in rural America, so that jobs can be exported outside of this country. And that's where many of us think we're headed with this bill. I would ask you to reference the chart on the wall over here about rural power bills, the potential effect of what this 1,000-page bill will do to rural America, and we'll talk about that in a moment, but this is critically important. I'd like to turn now to my colleague, who is ranking member on the Small Business Committee, the gentleman from Missouri who has a very great focus not only on making sure that rural America, small business has a chance to prosper, but that so does rural America. Sam Graves.
Thanks, Frank. Thanks, Frank, and I want to thank everybody for coming out today to hear a little bit about what this, what the Markey-Waxman bill is going to do, the energy tax bill is going to do to rural America. And I'm a product of rural America. I live in a small town. I grew up in a small town. I'm a farmer. We raise corn and soybeans, a very energy-intensive occupation. And I can't imagine the impact this is going to have on all of our farmers out there when it comes to just purchasing the products they need to produce, the crops that America needs, and just putting fuel in their machinery. It's going to have a huge impact. We also know that the majority of jobs in this country are small businesses that are doing everything they can right now to stay afloat. 7 out of every 10 jobs in this country are small business jobs, and I can't think of anything that could be harder on them. And these are job creators that are just trying to stay afloat right now in a very, very tough economy. And I can't imagine anything that's going to be harder on them than placing a tax on them right when they're trying to struggle and right when they're trying to bring themselves up out of this recession. So this couldn't be a worse time to have something like this, and it couldn't be something that would be harder on small businesses and on farmers than what this energy tax is going to do.
And now I call upon my fellow co-chairman along with Sam Graves of this working group, Doc Hastings from Washington State, the Resources Committee ranking member.
Thank you, Frank, and thank you, Sam, and all my other colleagues that are here today and part of this working group. Republicans have always stood for an all-of-the-above energy plan, and that, of course, means energy produced by wind, produced by solar, produced by biomass, and hydropower, in addition to nuclear power. The point is we need to be as energy diverse as we possibly can, and those that I mentioned are very, very important. But let's not overlook the other resources we have within this country and offshore, and that's our gas and oil reserves. I think it's in the best interest of our country to become as energy independent as possible and not ship these jobs overseas. The Waxman-Markey bill is nothing more than a gourmet energy bill. By that I mean it doesn't take in all of the above that we have been proposing. In fact, it narrows it down to a very small working energy producing idea, and I don't think that's what's in the best interest of this country. There's no question that in rural America, and as Frank pointed out, the energy producing and largely energy producing and consuming part of our country is a fundamental part of our overall economy. And if we don't take that into consideration when we look at energy in the long run, we are simply overlooking the obvious. This group that we have put together is going to address these issues, and we'll have more and more of these discussions in the future about how the energy bill, the gourmet energy plan is being debated right now, will affect rural America. We look forward to that debate because we think that the all of the above plan that we have been talking about for well over a year is the right plan for America. Thank you very much. We're more happy to. Well, is Mike here yet?
Mike's here.
There he is. Let me turn it over to Frank then.
Actually, I'd like to introduce the Republican Conference Committee Chairman, the gentleman from Indiana, Mr. Pence, for some observations.
Thank you. I thank you all for being here, and I want to thank the co-chairman and the members of the Rural America's Solutions Group. Passing a national energy tax is a bad idea in the city and on the farm. The Democrat plan to pass a national energy tax that will raise the costs of every American family by thousands of dollars a year amounts in effect to an economic declaration of war on the Midwest, on the heartland of America, by liberals here in Washington, D.C. I commend my colleagues in the Rural Solutions Group particularly for drawing attention to the extraordinarily negative impact that a national energy tax will have on rural America. The truth is that according to independent estimates, rural households spend 58% more on fuel than urban residents as a percentage of their income. Americans, like many in my district in rural Indiana, have to travel farther for routine errands, 25% more miles than urban households, according to recent federal highway data. So when we're talking about raising a national energy tax on energy consumption, rural America will be hit the hardest. And as Mr. Graves just stated, during these difficult economic times, times that are impacting Americans not just in our big cities, but in our small towns, the last thing we should do is raise the cost of energy to families across the heartland and in medium and small towns across this country. I truly believe that when the American people come to understand that the so-called cap and trade bill is nothing more than a massive national energy tax on every household in the city and on the country, they will join with those of us on Capitol Hill who say there's a better way. We can achieve energy independence. We can chart a course for an American energy future in the 21st century without raising a national energy tax. And Republicans in our Solutions Group will be unveiling the Republican alternative upon our return. But for now, it's imperative the American people know a national energy tax in the form of cap and trade is a bad idea in the city and on the farm, and it must be opposed.